of your time.
Too many nights that start out innocently are ending tragically. Megan Smith works on 6th Street and has a unique view of Austin's nightlife.
A lot of heartache.
She's seen too many friends become victims of date rape.
I know so many girls that have had this happen to them at really young ages too.
Obviously, there's a big danger.
Sarah Toney owns Any Lab Test Now in North Austin.
We were getting a lot of calls, and it was very alarming.
And surprising. Typically, it's younger women who are getting urine and blood tests to see if their drinks were drugged. But lately, more women in their 30s and 40s are suspicious, and with good reason. I asked Sarah how many women tested positive over the Christmas holidays.
About 60%. So most of the women who thought they were drugged, they were.
Hey bro, can I get one please?
This video is designed to help women of all ages learn how to better protect themselves from date rape.
I'm feeling a little dizzy. Can you point me to the bathroom?
The nonprofit group Just Yell Fire wants women and men to add this weapon to their self-defense arsenal.
Do you have a coaster?
This $1 coaster claims it can test your drink for 2 hidden drugs. Put a drop on the test pads, and makers say the spots will turn a darker blue if your drink has been tainted with GHB or ketamine.
I just put the whole pill here.
Dr. Ernest Laquiza is an expert in forensic toxicology.
Supposed to get dark blue. I'm waiting.
We went to his Houston lab, Expertox, to put the coasters to the test.
I was expecting to see a darker color, blue color.
Based on these results, he thinks the color change isn't dramatic enough.
You would have a hard time deciphering, is this really a drug or is it not?
Especially in a dark bar. But the manufacturer of the coaster says any shade of blue is reason for caution. While this coaster tests for 2 of the 3 most common date rape drugs, the rapist arsenal is growing.
A lot of the drugs we see are actually over-the-counter drugs.
Readily available cold remedies and sleep aids are being mixed into drinks more often than the so-called date rape drugs.
It can actually knock somebody out to a dangerous level, needing a hospitalization sometimes.
If you decide to slip a coaster under your drink, know that it's not foolproof. Your best defense is to never let your drink out of your sight. Some things are made to be recycled, but your identity isn't one of them.
The computers, the monitors.
The Round Rock Recycling Center is being swamped with tech cast-offs.
This is a pallet of material here. We're averaging about 20 pallets per week.
Tracy Herring knows that some of these computers may still have life left in them. Your life.
We hope people are schooled enough on identity theft to know that if they leave information on their cell phone or on their computer, they're leaving themselves open to people to take advantage of that.
With the permission of the recycling center, we put that schooling to the test. We removed the first 6 hard drives we found and turned them over to KI's information technology manager.
It's really easy.
He inserted the hard drives into this $40 drive bay, and in about a minute,
We found a lot of personal things.
had access to files you wouldn't want anyone to see.
His TurboTax, Christmas pictures, all the documents he was working on. It's right here.
Javier Jimenez found personal information on 4 of the 6 hard drives.
Documents, pictures, downloads, everything was just kind of left behind. I try not to look too deeply.
Which is reassuring to Alan Lifshin.
I started thinking about it and I was like, wow, what would be on there that I would, not want somebody to see?
Left on Alan's hard drive, personal information, a resume, photos, and his unlisted phone number. In fact, that's how we got in touch with him.
First, I was, I couldn't figure out why you were calling. And then when you mentioned something about the computer, then I figured everything out. So I knew you probably had all the information you wanted.
None of the information on Alan's hard drive or the other 3 had even been deleted.
Anybody can get it.
But Detective Charles Riley says deleting it likely wouldn't have made a difference.
They hit the delete key and think it's gone forever, and it's not.
You don't see the deleted information, but it's still sitting on the hard drive until the computer puts new data over it.
It could go months, maybe even longer than that, without ever needing to write any data to that specific spot where that deleted file currently sits.
Which means when you're ready to dump that drive, it's hammer time. Physically destroying the hard drive is not elegant. But no matter how you puncture the platter, it is the least expensive and easiest way to guarantee your privacy doesn't take a pounding.
That's it.
So before you recycle your old computer, make sure you remove the hard drive. You just saw in the video, you only have to undo a few screws. It takes a couple of minutes. Once you do, you're ready to put on your safety glasses and start pounding. But before we do that, I want to show you the primary target area. It's this round area right here. Inside this little box is where the platter sits spinning inside. That's where all of your personal information, all of those tax documents, everything else, that's where they're stored. This is the area you have to ensure gets destroyed. So let's give it a shot here, see how much muscle power I have. Here's one of the hard drives, one of the 6 that we took from the recycling center. You can see with a few, well, for me probably several good pounds, I'm actually able to break through and actually get to that round platter I was talking to you about, where all your personal information is stored. Now I have to tell you, you're going to want to pound some more on this, because this shouldn't be flat for you to be safe. It should either be cracked, shattered, or it should have a whole lot of dents in it, dings and things like that, so that no one could ever get a hold of it and actually read your personal information and recycle something you don't need recycled. Ron and Judy.
That is a sound you never want to hear. A trailer disconnects and really becomes a danger to everyone around it.
It happens too often in Texas, and in tonight's cover story, Bettie Cross shows us the consequences of not hooking up a trailer safely.
1 year ago,
Amigas, papa guisadas y frijoles, queso blanco.
on a day much like this one,
You got a decaf?
Oscar Ocampo had the worst moment of his life.
I was scared. I was shaking and trembling.
The lunch rush was over.
Amigas, please, with queso.
The restaurant was quieting down. And then
All I heard was, a big bang, and then I see people at my feet.
a cattle trailer unhitched from a truck
One of the waitresses, is yelling for help.
smashed through a wall of the Southeast Austin restaurant
It went like halfway inside the building.
and trapped a waitress between the trailer and a table.
It made me tear up when, I seen her in pain like that. She's a good friend. And she was a good worker too, and now she can't really, she doesn't really want to work because of like the injuries and stuff, so that's kind of sad.
The pain is both emotional,
The sound of the crash was very loud.
and physical for Laura Medina. Mariana's Kitchen has just reopened in a new location, making it easier for the former waitress to come here and talk about the thick scars on her arms and legs.
I had cuts and blood all over me. I didn't know what was happening.
The hardest part for Laura is knowing the accident was completely avoidable. According to this police report, the trailer was not properly secured with safety chains. A few bumps in the road was all it took to shake the hitch loose and send the cattle trailer careening down Burleson Road.
Everybody start rolling. Let's do this.
Dan Longuinette is an auto expert
It's not going to come off.
who agreed to help demonstrate how critical the chains are to your safety.
55.
On the first run, the safety chains are attached, but the pin is pulled. Even with no pin, the chains keep the trailer connected. Now watch what happens with no pin, no chains, and the SUV's speed is pushed to 55 miles per hour.
There's 55 right there.
2,200 pounds is now flying down the road with no driver. The trailer is out of control, and no one knows who or what it will hit.
It is fairly rare,
Ron Thayer spent his career reconstructing accidents.
but they do happen, and when they do, they can be very traumatic. You're potentially looking at a head-on collision.
Go that way just a little.
Clark Jackson at Spiller Hitches says 2 simple steps will keep you safe. First, the pin.
Put this through. If it doesn't go all the way through, it's not properly latched.
Then, attach 2 safety chains from your trailer to the truck.
You need to make sure they're crossed. It creates a cradle for the coupler to fall into so that it doesn't drag the ground and it keeps it secured to the vehicle, not going down the highway.
At Mariana's Kitchen, Oscar says everything only looks like it's back to normal. While his mom's recipes haven't changed, his outlook certainly has.
It was an eye-opener. You don't know what can happen, any second.
It happens so fast and it is so easy to prevent. So one last thing to remember, this ball that you have on the back of your car or truck, it has to be the same size as the coupler that comes up over it. There are 3 different sizes, so if you make sure they match, you're good to go. And the bottom line of all this, the pin we showed you in the story, it cost $5. These safety chains, they run about $20. So for $25, you and everyone on the road around you can be a lot safer. Reporting live in North Austin, Betty Cross, KITV News.
Betty, that was dramatic video. We saw the victim and heard from her, but what about the guy towing the cattle trailer? Whatever happened to him?
Well, Austin police cited him for 2 things. One, failing to safely secure his load or the trailer. Basically, he didn't have these safety chains. He was also cited for having an expired inspection sticker. The total cost of his 2 fines, $358.
The date of birth, their emergency contact, and their phone number.
Your most personal information.
The Social Security numbers clearly written out.
Details you would never want made public.
If they've paid on time, if they've been negligent.
And yet, it's all laid out here on Greg Salzillo's dining room table.
Has the lab work? It's horrible.
Greg called KI, wanting us to see what he found.
Each time you dug a layer, there were more and more documents.
He says medical records for several hundred patients were just dumped at the Round Rock Recycling Center.
It was the full recycle bin as far down as I could see or dig with my arms.
Greg says he was there looking for packing supplies to help his sister move. He never expected the paper to get this personal.
To put it in a, recycle bin that's open to the public is where it was the most shocking.
Greg scooped up an armful of the records. This is what we found in the recycle bin.
Oh.
Including several pages belonging to patient Dolly Burton.
My personal information that I filled out.
From her signature to her social security number, everything a thief would need to steal Dolly's identity.
That's very disturbing.
Is right here.
I have an ID card, and this is a copy of that with my picture on it.
Dolly can't believe her military ID and a copy of her insurance card were treated like trash.
Anybody could have found this, and the person that did find it and turned it over to you was just a good person. But everybody's not good.
This North Austin grandmother wants to know who's responsible.
I think they should be held accountable for not disposing of them in a safe way.
HIPAA agrees. Patient privacy rules in Texas require medical records be kept at least 7 years. All these records are at least that old. HIPAA also says personal health information cannot be disposed of in dumpsters that are accessible by the public, unless the documents are rendered unreadable. That is not what happened here. At a minimum, the medical records should have been shredded. They have to be unreadable.
Can't be good for anybody.
Attorney Mark Holbrook represents a North Austin doctor whose name was on some of the documents. It doesn't appear his office tossed them in here. Instead,
It was all billing information that was given to the third party for billing purposes.
with all those different hands touching patient information, Dolly now sees the flaw in the form.
I don't think we should have to give out all this personal information just to be seen by a doctor.
Dolly thinks her trust
Too much faith.
might have been misplaced.